Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/eggshow. Audible has more than 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or just about any device you can imagine. As loyal listeners to The Eggs Show, you can download a free audiobook today by visiting audibletrial.com/eggshow. Again, that's audibletrial.com/eggshow for your free audiobook courtesy of Audible.
Hey guys, welcome to Eggs. On today's show, we have a special guest, a friend of mine from Bellevue, Washington. His name's Michael Duncan. He owns a production company called Mic'd Up Productions, and he's the closest thing I can find to what I used to do down in Phoenix as far as like putting on the bigger events where you actually have to kind of produce the event. And I'm really excited to get him on the show today and talk about, what it takes to go from A to B to get from, the entry-level kind of gig to the, working with Boeing and Microsoft and some of the bigger clients that are in the Seattle market. So I'm really excited to welcome my friend, Mike Duncan. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good.
Sorry for all the bullshit that we put you through the last hour. We had some technical errors and all sorts of stuff.
We still technically are working through a technical error.
Yeah.
So.
We'll be all good.
We're doing a hack to make it work. So
That's right. The show must go on. We're like the post office.
Like the post office, except they're all rude assholes. So, anyways, tell us about yourself, Mike. How'd you get your start? What's your story?
Well, I've been doing this going on a little over a decade.
I saw your LinkedIn, say congratulations to Mike on being at Mic'd Up for 10 years or whatever.
Yeah, it's been a while. Started off with this with some friends, and they had some turntables, and just kind of kept going from there, and progressed into working for a little mobile DJ company, and then on to Guitar Center. And
who was the mobile company? Was it?
It's called Amore Events out of Issaquah.
Okay, I think I've heard the name. I've never met the guys behind it, but
Lady.
Oh, sorry, lady. How long were you there?
I think I worked for Marie for a couple of years, mostly doing. She had me doing like karaoke shows and some random other.
Just filler and whatever came up, just go do it kind of thing.
Yes.
Okay. And then you kind of went into Guitar Center right after that and got your foot in. Were you just a sales guy? What department did you work in?
Pro Audio.
Yep. That's what's up.
Yep. Stuck there for, I would say, in Guitar Center world, probably 10 lifetimes.
2 years?
Almost 4.
Wow. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
How was your experience there?
I'm glad I don't work there anymore.
Okay.
It was great for discounts.
Yeah.
Cool learning about things that I didn't know before, which, I didn't learn too terribly much, but, it was a job.
Way to get your feet wet in the industry.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, great for discounts.
Yeah.
Love those markup on cables. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
It's amazing when you become an authorized retailer for some of those companies and see what the actual cost is for those cables, and then
specifically cables. 80%.
Easy.
Cool. Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having worked at Guitar Center, those relationships that you built with like the vendors and just being able to go directly to like Chave or whoever, were those some of those relationships that you built, were they good for you after you left? Were you able to kind of use them later on, or was it more like?
So understanding the deal on those. So like Chave will have a rep company. Like Chave has a rep company called Image Marketing West, which Image Marketing West is West Coast rep company for like 10 different brands, including Pioneer, Odyssey, a bunch of other things.
So once you get your initial buy-in with those guys, you kind of
Yeah. So they have reps that come out that aren't officially Chave people. That help with the brands for all that stuff. So it's nice. It's nice knowing those people and being able to chat with them because Chave's got 500 dealers across the company ish. They can't keep up with all that.
Oh, yeah.
It's just too much nonsense.
Easy.
Too much nonsense.
So when you left Guitar Center, what year was that? Like
that was 2013, maybe.
Okay.
Ish, maybe 12.
What spurred you to go full time?
So about 2.5 years into this, I had started 2.5 years into Guitar Center. I had started doing a lot more DJ gigs, and then it just turned into DJ gigs every week. And it was I was looking at the money, going, I'm making the same money working one day as I am working at
all week.
Guitar Center.
Yeah.
Yeah, because commissions, a thing that they like bait and lure you in a Guitar Center, but it's not real. Shout out to anybody who's making that commission check, because you're the real hero. So I didn't actually quit. I just managed my schedule down from like working 5 days a week. Because I'd been there so long, I got the hours that I wanted to, the days that I wanted, going from 5 days a week down to 3 days a week, down to 2 days a week.
And it just kind of dwindled to like,
down to
do I really have to come in?
Down to 1 day a week. And then I had messaged the manager, and I'm like, hey man, like I need like two weeks off. Like I'm going to go on a trip. And I like, they schedule every week. So I took the trip and I came back, and I like just never messaged him again.
You're like, I'm not back.
I'm not. Yeah.
So technically, you're still on payroll. You just show up and clock in one day and see what happens.
No, I just I kept coming and buying things at the discount.
Oh,
that lasted.
I like this.
That lasted like 3 months.
There you go.
It was awesome. And finally, I kind of been ducking him because I like knew the schedule, and he's.
So you come in on like Friday night because you know he's not there.
So I like come in one day, and he's like randomly there, and he's like, "Me and you should chat." And he's like, so do you want to quit, or should I fire you at this point?"
Well,
and I'm like,
well, I'll get benefits if you fire me.
And he's like, "You're not really getting any benefits at this point." And I'm like, well, I guess I'll quit. Can we quit in like 3 days so I can like figure out some money situation so I can buy some more gear?
Right, because that's the whole reason to have a job like that, is to get the discounts. I actually, at one point, I had a cell phone store, and I would use the cell phone store as a way to do initial buy-ins, because you have to have a brick and mortar to do that.
Yep.
For most of them.
Yep.
And so I was at one point, I had like American DJ. I had a few other, just crappy brands that, whatever. But okay, so you used Guitar Center to get your gear. When you initially started Mic'd Up Productions, what was your focus? What were you trying to go after?
So initially it was just working at bars, and then from bars it progressed to a couple of clubs, and from there it progressed to owning a little bit of gear and going out and doing some private events and that kind of thing, and charging way too little money.
I know, right?
Laughing about it. I'm gonna post here this week a price sheet from back then. From back then.
Okay, so when I came to Seattle initially, there was a company that I'm not going to name names, but we all know the company that keeps the rates low in this market. There's several companies, but one main one, as far as the school scene goes.
Yes. Yeah, not shout out to everybody who works for them still.
Yeah.
Hi. Still love you guys. Not shout out.
Yeah, it's not a good look if you work for them. But anyways, I thought that was my competition. I thought that's what I had to compete with. So my pricing went from like pretty good in Phoenix to coming down to like barely being able to get $500 out of a school, because that's too much.
Too much.
Because they're not used to it. So it's kind of a weird market when it comes to the mobile scene. You've got anyone that will come out and do it for like $150 to guys that will charge $3,500 to $4,000 depending on, the clients and the weddings. So you're all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
How did you kind of hone in on that and fix that for you? Just time served, kind of just raise it over the course of the years, or?
Yeah. So as far as like the private events, that went from just looking at it and going, well, if I can do it for $300, then maybe I could do it for $5. And then it was $5 to $7, $7 to $1,000, $1,000 to $12, $12 to $15,
just
18,
the $200, $300,
$20.
$400 a year.
Yep, and then
increase.
it just this didn't necessarily happen to be a year-long increase. This could have been like 3 months or 6 months, because at some point in time you figure out what the wall is and where you hit that, and that you can only charge so much, right?
Yeah.
You need to have the gear to initially get there, but you also have to have the skill to do it and run the gig and all that kind of stuff. So, but there's also a cap on how much people are willing to spend for the mass majority, right?
Yeah.
So that's essentially how I figured that out in the private industry. As far as the school game, there is a great company out of Chicago that's doing larger school events. I mean, you look at their production and you're like, that's not $500.
No.
I'm sure they have a crew of like 12 people, and one person on the crew is making $500.
Easy. When you got professionals that are coming in and doing that kind of work,
right?
That's what needs to be paid to them,
Right,
and when you have 4 or 5 people, that $500 per person or however much it works out to is more than most people are willing to pay for one event for everything, let alone just cover your staff.
Right.
So
and most of these people, if we're talking in the school market, they don't have an idea. And it's hard with the school stuff because they've been there for like 20 years and they just think that this is the way to do things. So. Okay.
So I think we've kind of jumped ahead a little bit. Your school game is kind of now-ish as far as doing the bigger stuff.
Yep.
In the early years, what were some of your marketing techniques that you tried to employ to kind of just get out there? What did you do to get the word out? And were there any that worked better than others?
I mean, there was a good fun time of making some flyers and posting those out, and having a little snip off with the
call this number.
Oh, yeah.
You're on the
good times. Good times.
I did direct mailing once to schools, and printed some 4x6 flyers from Club Flyers, and did that route and got maybe 4 calls. Didn't work that well. There's another company called Wedding Wire that a lot of the guys use, and I've heard a lot of mixed reviews. How has that been for you?
Your mixed reviews are, if you're of a certain price point, you shouldn't have a problem. But if you're above that certain price point, it's an issue.
Oh, so they're going to go for anyone else lower on the chain that's willing to do it in there.
I mean, you got the Knot, you got Wedding Wire, and then you got basically your Facebook ads, Google ads, all the different like just straight marketing companies instead of specified to wedding stuff. I feel like as far as the specified to wedding stuff, Wedding Wire and the Knot, they're just a notch above a thing called Thumbtack.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like one person's going out there and they're messaging 20 people, and whoever the lowest bid is, that's
who they're going to go with.
Probably what's going to happen.
And that mentality just blows my mind, because if you know they're the lowest on the totem pole, why would you go with them in the first place?
Well, because they have a budget to fill, and I mean, most of these people who are getting married, it's the only time they're getting married. And first of all,
entertainment's the last on their list too.
Well, and also, I'm just gonna stick my neck out there and say that the majority being close to 100% of these people are not dealing with budgetary issues like on a $20,000 to $30,000 budget scale for one day.
Yeah.
So they don't know what to do on that. So entertainment is last on their list. They don't know how it works. If they don't have a good wedding planner, hi, all you good wedding planners.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. Like $500 just seems like the right number for almost everybody, and it's not.
Speaking of wedding planners, they change the game. When you have a good one, it changes everything as far as like helping the bride and groom just get from A to B and get the show done right and explaining stuff to them. I have one specifically that I work with in Chelan, and she's awesome. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Lorraine and True Expressions. I do a lot of work with her. In fact, that's pretty much all the weddings I do is through her, because it alleviates a lot of the headache and the stress that comes on my end, and it makes it a lot better experience for everyone, not just
Yeah, it's nice because you just get to show up and perform. You don't have to do all the other part.
Exactly.
Right. And I mean, while we're talking about that, it's different. I mean, if you're dealing with like a $10,000 like wedding budget, they can't actually afford a wedding planner. So when they don't have that money, now they're sticking it to a DJ, and maybe they want to spend $1,700, $1,500, maybe $2,000 out of that 10 on a DJ. Maybe they do. The problem is that now the DJ is the quote
wedding
unquote wedding planner
Yeah.
for day of. They're not doing all the vendor stuff, but as far as the timeline's concerned, they're the person who has to deal with everybody arriving, when they start, when everybody gets lined up,
making announcements for
all
every
the
event
stuff.
that goes on, and you're the one that's looking over the timeline and
Totally.
keeping the bride and groom in check, because if you don't, dinner could go an hour longer than it's supposed to.
Yeah, so
And actually, I'm guilty of doing that. Do you
it's
ever do that? Just let the dinner go a little bit longer so you don't have to.
I mean, there's a place called Roach Harbor that has a weird. They've got colors, right? So every night at sunset, they make you stop for 15 minutes, no audio, no nothing, and it's. I mean, I'm up there often. I love it up there, but it's hard to deal with, man. Like, how do we circulate the time frame? Do we do dinner longer? Do we start with everything? Because we've got 15 minutes of no audio.
What's that for?
It's just
color guard, like they lower the flag. Is that what that is?
Yeah, it's the 1800s and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Roach Harbor sounds a lot like Anacortes.
Well, I mean,
it's right there.
Minutes away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
How often do you do stuff up there?
I'm up there once 4 or 5 times a year.
How did you get your foot in the door up there, of all places? Was it just that one gig that kind of worked out? And you...
Parents got a cabin up there, knew some people like being up there. Lots of people are like, whoa, I don't want to go do a destination wedding. I prefer destination weddings.
I love them.
So,
I market in destination weddings because
give me that.
Yeah, like Chelan is one of my favorite places. I've started doing some marketing in Jackson Hole and like Sun Valley area because it's a different environment when they're all coming there and it's their destination as well. Everyone's there for fun and. I don't know.
Destination wedding meaning all the guests.
All the guests.
Most of the guests are staying within 10 minutes of whatever the reception site is, which means that they drink more, they party more. They're looking for a good time.
Most of them, that's in the venue that they're staying at, so
Correct.
They just stumble down the hall and they're done. And
so if you're good at your job, if it's a band, it's a slam dunk, like super easy. If you're a good DJ, like. It's most of the time a slam dunk too. But I can assume that if you're a press play, don't mix, run of the mill DJ, like it's not like it's just the same thing that you've done for all the other weddings, right? So what's the point of having to travel farther and do everything else?
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of look at it.
I don't know. Like for the first 7 or 8 years of my career, I was that DJ. I did zero mixing. I brought a book of CDs and I'd have it highlighted. Okay, play this one, play that one. And I'd go through and just look by color code and throw it on. And, once the other song ended, hit play. And I was getting like burnt out. I hated it. Like, I was like, why am I doing this? Just no fun anymore. And most of the clients back then were low-dollar weddings and school dances. And the school dances we did the lighting for, so it was kind of, it substituted the mixing. I wish I could have mixed like I can now back then because It would have changed the game. It would have been so much cooler.
Yep.
Okay, so we're about 6-7 years into your business. What stepped the game up for you? What changed because you went from, mobile guy doing, smaller budget gigs to doing these huge, like the wedding you did last week, Insanity. We'll get into that later, but what changed?
So actually it changed like 3 years in, I'd say. So while working at Guitar Center, working for Amore and Marie, she had a friend who was doing a Monday night thing down at the Wild Rover in Kirkland, and they were looking for some lighting. And so it moved from just DJing to, maybe I could do some lighting at a bar. looking back at that was a silly time in life, and thinking what I was doing, and looking back at that now, just
hindsight 2020 is pretty clear.
I had a great time with good people, with Jeff Castle and his band, and good times. But anyhow, so it went from DJing to lighting, and then from lighting, I was like, oh man, I love this. Like, it wasn't even a profit thing or how any of that kind of stuff. Like, it was just like, oh, this is an easier way to like express all this stuff and like have fun with other musicians, rather than like DJing. Yeah, you're controlling a crowd, but most of the time the audience isn't looking at you like, wow, you're a really good musician.
Yeah, you have to be. I think there's a plateau as far as like DJing. You can be really good and they still don't care.
Right.
But then if you got like the mic skills and you've got the hype and you can do all these trick shows and like the Z Trips and the Craze and those guys.
Yep.
That's the next level. But getting to that next level is, I don't know how you do it. You win Red Bull 3 styles, and that's pretty much it.
I mean, I like my life. I don't know about you, but I don't have a basement to hide out in. So,
right?
Yeah, I love you guys. I appreciate exactly what you're doing, and you guys got mad skills, but I'm never going to be that good on that level. That's craziness.
Well, and
it's amazing. It's amazing.
Like I appreciate it, and as a DJ, I those are the guys that I look up to. But I'm right there with you. I don't have, when I was a kid, I would spend hours practicing the piano. I can't do that in DJing.
Totally.
Especially when the reward doesn't seem to justify itself.
Totally. Yep.
Because when you get to that point, yeah, you're touring, you're playing these huge clubs, you're making the great money that comes with it, but just getting to that level is.
I mean, if we're talking about that level, like let's say there's 100 top DJs, there's like 3 out of that top 100 that are like what I would consider artists as far as like turntablist and that kind of stuff goes. So I mean, the rest of the guys, they do all their work at home. It's all production stuff, and that's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got into the lighting, doing the band.
Yeah.
And how long until you were able to kind of implement that into your?
Yeah, so we went from just doing a small little light show and buying some stuff to buying enough stuff to go out to Showbox Market, meeting some bands and getting hired for band shows and doing all that kind of fun stuff. And that was a good fun time, and still doing the DJ stuff, but doing enough of these medium to larger venues, not arena level, but like larger venues,
500 to 1,000 cap venues. Yeah.
So doing that was pretty cool. And from that helped me develop into larger weddings, larger private events, and then onto other things. So
yeah. What was your initial?
The trajectory sound a little familiar, Mike?
I know. It sounds like that's why I've wanted to get Mike on for a while, because you and our histories are like parallel.
Yeah, it's so interesting because, I'm sure that Mike doesn't know a ton about our background together, but the way we came together was basically through you doing just like what he just described, like you were doing lighting for concerts,
With my crappy gear that I didn't know anything about.
Yeah, with your cool American DJ park hands.
It was that initially, right? The order.
Right.
I bought 4 scanners, and they were pieces of junk.
Right.
And I had that little the 19-inch rack mount lighting controller that's like doubled in, and it has that little joystick. And I was trying to run lighting. I don't even remember the name of it. It was horrible.
Yeah, you had the scanners, and I think you had some PARs and stuff like that. But I mean, it was a very basic kit that it was, actually leveled up for the place we were playing.
Yeah, true. What was your initial like when you approached the band? What kind of lighting did you have? Same kind of crap that I just explained.
It went from having 5 or 6 DJ FX lights to still working at Guitar Center and being like, oh, I guess I could make this happen. And they've got a brand called Venue, and just bought a bunch of Venue LED PARs. They were cheap, man, like $30-$40. Like,
Yeah.
cool, I bought par 38s, but you get enough par 38s and it looks like a big show, right? So
Yeah.
especially when you're playing in a smaller...
Well, and a lot of these bands are used to not having anything. And so even the cheap par 38s make them feel like, oh, shit, this is badass.
Oh, man, these local bands that were doing shows, and I mean, they're cool. And I'm wearing one of their shirts right now.
I haven't even heard of those guys. I'll have to check them out. Moneta?
Moneta. Yeah. So I mean, they were hiring me for a bunch of shows, and they thought it was great. It like added a ton to their show, and they already had a good following. So just making their local show better was great.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and for you as a lighting guy, it's almost like you're up there playing with them because you've sat through, I don't know, once you work with a band 2 or 3 times, you kind of get their set list figured out. You kind of know what's coming up. All right, I need to have a strobe pattern coming up for this. Let's set a mellow theme because it's kind of a slower song. And then, like you can pre-plan your set list as a lighting guy. And you're almost like you're in the band, kind of, but you're not.
I made them send me all their tracks and basically all their substitutions for whatever tracks they might play up there, and would just get to know them and then tell me kind of what color scheme you want up there and that kind of stuff, and just roll with that. And I mean, it was very simple in what I was doing, and looking back at it, like I was having a lot of fun, and it was it was a good time.
That was like highlight for me. I had a good time at the clubhouse. Okay, so we got the bands, we got the lights. You kind of, what was it, 5-6 years ago, you went in with like Moving 92.5 and you started promoting for schools.
So it was that was 4 years ago, and I saw another company said that was doing larger school events and just wanted to do something like that over here. Nobody in the state I was seeing that was doing anything like that. So just started promoting and put my toes in the water, and then asked Moving to come on with me and do the thing. So
how did that work out?
It worked out fine. I mean, we're still doing, we've got 4 schools this year that we're doing larger events for, and yeah.
When you come in and do a school like that, what are you bringing into? So this is something, because I want to talk about this, because I think schools need to realize that they can hire someone like you for the same money that they're going to the EMP and doing that. Yep. I think they're paying like 15 to 20 grand to rent that room out for a day.
Yep. So the big deal is that, especially when we're talking like homecoming, and you've got all of the school body that has money to pay for the thing, like just hire a production company and go in and do the thing in your school gym. Make it so all the kids don't want to leave, because the difference with going to EMP and us coming to your school is somebody at EMP might be controlling the lights and might be doing the video, but they haven't synced up with the DJ, and they probably haven't worked.
They won't let you tie. They won't let you tie video into the screen, the big screen. They used to back in the day. I did a few, but the new one they won't. The lighting guy doesn't usually do it. He just sets a pre-programmed thing.
Yep.
They charge like ridiculous amounts of money for just water. Totally. And they make you buy the water from them. So you're spending all this extra money to go and have it. Yeah, it's kind of a cool venue, but it's so big, the kids end up spreading out and they go and explore. And so you don't get the big packed dance floor. You don't get the fun until later on. And after they've done their exploring, it kind of ruins the night.
Right.
That's just my experience from working there in the past.
Totally.
But when you have someone like Mike and Mike Up Productions that can come and bring all the stuff that's at the EMP to your school, it'll probably, cost less. The kids will just come to the school and have as much fun, if not more, because, they don't have to take a limo into downtown Seattle. They don't have to do it's their home turf. They probably lose a lot of students because of the location and getting there.
So our big deal, I mean, the biggest thing that I've pushed on this is that you may be spending the same amount of money, but I want all the kids to be jazzed about this and be like, oh, so year one of going into school, they like, the student body is like, this isn't happening. Like, you're just lying to us, right? We're used to our $500 radio DJs.
Radio DJs. Right, the radio DJs.
Yeah, showing up and throwing this cool 2 speakers and like a light on the floor.
Yeah.
And, even though the student body's 1,500 people, you got a system that should cover like 75.
Yeah.
So, when a couple of hundred people show up at the very beginning and then maybe a few hundred more show up, they're like, this is lame.
And they don't want to come.
So I'm going to go home. So they've got a 3-hour party and kids show up for half an hour. And then there's just kids like kind of hanging out because their moms or parents or whoever just said that they got to stay at the thing. So you got this small group who like doesn't even want to be there. That's kind of stuck there.
And have chaperones looking over them
and they're
for
making,
everything. And
they're making the best of it. Like,
yeah.
I know how that is. I was there. It's lame. So our goal is to make sure that the entire student body knows what's going to happen. We get as many people to show up as we can, and we keep them there. Year one, we had a 40% increase from the last homecoming. And then as we were sitting at the front door watching people leave, they're like, hey, so I actually really want to stay, but, we're in the places where parents have money, and their parents had set up after parties.
Oh, okay. So I've done a few of those. Yeah.
So anyhow, they're like, we got, next year we'll stay. We'll change our after parties for next year. But this year we have to go to our after parties. So we had a bunch of kids who wanted to stay, but they had already made plans to go somewhere else.
Because most of the time the school dances suck.
Yeah, they're used to the run-of-the-mill thing.
Yeah.
It's not even run-of-the-mill. It's below average.
It's literally DJs that you find on Craigslist that are thrown in last minute coming to do these.
Oh, believe me, I remember all my school dances, and they were all that way.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely
the low-budget
people...
schools in Idaho don't exactly spring for these kind of things.
Now, Ryan, you used to come with me down in Phoenix to like...
Yeah, I remember one specifically that you guys did. I want to say it was at the courthouse or something there in Phoenix. It's
we did.
Incredible building.
We did one at the federal courthouse. We had to get security clearances to get all our staff in. So we had to do background checks on us. Uh-huh. But we literally brought in, a 30 by 30 foot roof, a bunch of moving heads. We had a snow machine, video projection, all sorts of stuff. And this was when I didn't mix. This was like, we had a big ass light show, a big sound system, zero mixing, but the kids loved it because they thought they were coming to this huge nightclub.
Well, that's the thing. The production was so great. It was like an indoor nightclub, or like a portable club, I guess.
And we would do schools like Shadow Mountain High School, where we'd come into their gymnasium and we would build a stage out of trussing in the middle of the floor, and then we'd do like you did for that wedding and rig up the lighting along there, and it's next level stuff, and the kids just eat it up. And I'm telling you, like, Seattle market has a good market for that. And I think, if you keep doing it, other schools are going to see and realize that, we don't need to go to EMP. We don't need to go and pay 15, 20 grand to do this. We can do it in our own school, charge less for the students to buy a ticket and get more.
Right, I got to have enough years of the staff understanding what's going on. The bigger hurdle of going to all these things is that the parents think that it's a good idea.
Yeah.
So parents who donate money and are really pushy.
Oh, true. The politics behind everything is hard to work with.
The politics are very hard because like all these schools that I'm dealing with, like. In the beginning, they were like, we're doing stuff at the aquarium. And I'm like, I'm not going to go work at the aquarium ever again because I've got a 2-hour window maximum to set up. Maximum.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't work. Sorry.
No, not for something of that size.
I'm not going to throw 30 people trying to like make this show happen in 2 hours. It's not going to happen.
You can't even program the lighting or diagnose a bad cable in 2 hours.
Correct.
You
just can't. You just can't do it. So I mean, it's a hassle. So it's nice to be in people's home turf at their school and their gym. I get a day before to set up or day of, but I can be in there for 12 or 14 hours.
Yeah,
easy.
day of. You could show up at 8 a.m. and
Totally.
be programming until start time.
No problem. Yep.
Okay, so somewhere down the road, you ended up buying one of the mobile stages.
Mm-hmm.
How's that been for you?
It's been interesting. I went from doing all this DJ stuff to having a salesperson for concerts and Yeah, doing a bunch of county fairs and street concerts and just random stuff that I didn't see previously.
Can you talk a little bit about that experience working with a manager or a salesperson to do, to seek out this work for you? I mean, you talked earlier about like the wedding planners and how, that person's almost acts like your agent. They sort of pimp you out that way. I wonder, can you talk at all about the experience of working with a salesperson to do that, just as your business has grown?
Yeah, so that's a different experience. Like the wedding planner thing, like you're
a vendor on their list of guys.
Well, unless you're running a weird business, which I've seen several of those where they pay off their other people.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll do you a favor if you do me one.
I got a better idea. Just be good at your job.
Right.
Which is why wedding planners will typically hire the same person over and over again because they know they can do the job and they're not going to embarrass them and they're going to do a good job. Yeah. So that's the deal with them. On the other scale of things, with this salesperson, just kind of walked into my life that it was time to do something different. When you own a bunch of audio and lighting, the way that you get hired to do stuff is typically on a stage. So if you got the stage, now you get hired out to do all the
and
audio
you can also like, hey, I know a guy who has lights, and hey, I know a guy who has this.
Right. So it's kind of like if we're talking the private event industry, if you just happen to be a wedding planner who happens to DJ.
Yeah.
Which I don't advise that at all, but that's just kind of where I'm.
Well, it's like the guys that do that and have the photo booth and try to be a photographer at the same time and it's like pick one, stick with it.
The photo booth thing, I'm not mad at, especially if you got a staff for that. But like it's pretty much DJs in the private event industry. You got lights and you might have a photo booth. Just don't go any further than that.
Yeah.
You don't run a photography business. You don't run a videography business. Just you're a DJ.
Yeah.
You're entertainment.
Focus.
Photo booth is kind of entertainment, right?
Right.
Right. They're going to it. Yeah.
I get it.
Whatever. People are weird.
So stage.
Yeah.
What came like struggles, hurdles, anything that came along with owning a stage as far as like keeping the maintenance up? Any breakdowns? Like, oh shit, a hydraulic cable broke or something like that. Like,
I'm glad that you just mentioned hydraulics because I came from doing a bunch of shitty retail jobs to being a DJ, which sure I can pick up that, and then all of a sudden I've got this large piece of equipment that's kind of a lot of money that if a hydraulic piece breaks or something, it might kill somebody.
Yeah.
Right? So the struggle is just knowing that you're putting something up and watching it above people's heads. Like that's a frightening thing all the time.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Have I had anything break on me? No, I've had to learn a little bit about hydraulics, but I'm not seriously there yet. Well, I know how to operate the thing, but like I couldn't fix it if the hydraulic broke.
That's what professionals are for. That's why you hire people that know that stuff.
I can only do so much. A couple of years ago, we had a pin come out of it, and we were at a county fair with a bunch of amusement rides. Just went over and talked to the carnies, and all their stuff's hydraulic. I got one of those,
right?
Yeah, all their stuff's hydraulics. They got crowbars to fix this thing. He came out with a crowbar the size of a car. I was like, "What is this?" He's like, "This is the way you fix it." I'm like, "All right, man.
All right.
Yeah, what I owe you?" He's like, "A beer." I'm like, "Oh man,
sweet.
I love this.
Sold.
I will be at all the county fairs."
Any horror stories, weird events? We had a tent collapse on us once in Phoenix. It was pretty gnarly, ruined a couple speakers, but nothing crazy. Like any out of the blue, like freak rainstorms that you weren't expecting, or just
nothing on the stage. I had as far as like a wedding goes, like 3 years ago, we were over on Vashon, and unfortunately the photographer had just left, but it just like all of a sudden worst downpour that you get in Seattle ever.
Yeah.
You're like, what is this, Florida? What is going on? It's dumping. And everything's outside. So I'm struggling, running around trying to get trash bags to throw over moving heads, and
right,
trash bags to throw over speakers. And I got an umbrella that's fabric above my head. So that lasted quite a bit.
Right.
We got 125 people that were like having a pretty good time. And After about 20 minutes of running around, the assistant that was with me, another DJ, Braden, he's like, dude, look up and see what's going on. And I'm like,
I don't want to.
I looked up and I was like, oh shit, these people are like having the best time of their lives. They're just getting down in the rain.
Oh yeah, at a point you just don't care anymore, right?
I was so sad that the photographer left early because I mean your night was done, but you know it's
that would have been good to catch.
That would have been I got a terrible video of that, but you know,
so capping all this off, you just did a huge event. Like,
yep.
Would you say it's the biggest one you've ever done?
So it looks like at this point, over the last 3 years, I get to do one giant wedding a year.
Okay.
The budget for this one was much more because it was in a ballroom instead of being an airplane hangar. So there were some other things that we had to deal with.
Well, the logistics of working with a venue like that, they have requirements that you have to agree to.
In-house AV and all that stuff. And also having not good rig points, which are skyhooks.
Well, rigging, that entails a whole nother thing because there's certified riggers you have to use to go into a venue like that and to hang the truss above people's heads and all that. So it's understandable why they would want, the right guys.
Totally.
But, when you have to rely on other companies and you have to rely on other stuff, things can change. And I think for this, like you had some gear that was delivered to wrong addresses and all sorts of crazy stuff that just...
All kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah. And this is like just one event. This happens all the time. Like you're the guy that has to go and, save the day and drive to Bellevue in rush hour traffic and get back and still set up and program. And can you go over just the logistics of this wedding, like what it took to put this wedding together and why you're worth it? Because I mean, this explains to me, this sets the mobile DJ company, the 1,000 cap price point from, the you and the production company level.
So this is a different animal altogether. I mean, I love all you mobile DJs and everything, but most guys couldn't even scratch their head at this because you've got to have a little bit of experience in concerts, a little bit of experience in other larger shows, stuff that you're kind of doing this stuff with. This is not a typical just wedding, right? So rigging just to start with is just nuts if you don't have even the fathom of who to talk to.
What's a span set?
Oh my god, just stuff, right? And I'm actually not very good in that at all. I can just talk to the people and understand what I'm getting at. But as far as this show goes, I mean, it was your average 8 months, 10 months out that they were like, hey, let's chat about things. And this one specifically was like, hey man, just build the coolest thing that you can. Didn't come at me with, I got this budget or that budget. Just build a cool thing. Show me some stuff. So we just built a cool thing, and we had 3 revisions of it, and got told where the limit was eventually. But
yeah,
you had to find where that cap was. So
well, it's cool to have a client like that that's willing to, hey, show me what you can do, and then work with it around that.
Yeah, the fun part about this one is that we just got to explore and go as far as we could. The client actually never saw our plans, like any of them.
Oh, really?
Not one. They didn't.
Well, so how do you find a client like this? Like, is this somebody that knew you from another project that had worked with you in the past, or did they just reputation? Or?
So the planner had worked with me before, and we actually did their cousin's wedding. But the previous event, they never saw a plan either. So
it's amazing how when you get to a certain price point, I'd say $5,000 or more, clients are pretty much hands off. They don't want to deal with it. They just want it to be done, and to an extent. Mm-hmm. And sometimes
I think there's sort of a built-in trust. Once you get to that dollar amount, it's like they know they're hiring a pro.
So if we're talking about private events, yes. If we're talking about corporate events, no.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
Like not even a chance. Like it doesn't matter if it's a $5 event or a $50,000 event. All those corporate clients want to see everything down to a T.
And they want it itemized and built out. And that's always fun, right?
A whole different thing. But yeah, as far as like DJing goes, I mean, I don't know. I might say I might say around $3,000 ish. The majority of people who hire you, they don't like. I just say here's what's showing up, and they're just like, all right, that's cool. But on this large level, I mean, this if I was dealing directly with a client, I'd probably have to talk to all the plans and everything else. But I was just dealing with a planner who was like, just make it as cool as possible. Here's their ideas. Can you do this? And you say yes or no, right?
Yeah.
Pretty simple. They don't need to, like, how am I going to explain that I got 140 fixtures on the thing? They'd be like, well, I only need one spotlight. And you're like, well, if you want it dope.
You want one spotlight for the cake, one spotlight for the toast, one spot, like there's a lot.
550 people in this thing. And with that, 550 guests. And with that comes a lot of room and a lot of places that you need to light up. And, you want to make it cool and spectacular? All right, let's go.
Yeah. Well, not even just lighting. You got audio. You've got all sorts of different stuff you have to deal with. Like, okay, for the light show, for the rigging, you have to bring in a scissor lift. You had to deal with the riggers. You had to deal with the rental, the AV, all the stuff that that's how many months did you plan this?
So it was 8 months out, and it was really started planning 4.5, 5 months out. Within the last 3, we really nailed that down and got everything actually all finalized about a month out. I'd say 95% of that show was scheduled out a month out, which, I mean, for all the fixtures and concert stuff, to get it's not a writer show, is pretty good. So, yeah, we had 2 26-foot box trucks for one wedding. We had
that's insanity.
A day and a half of setup, half a day of show, which was like 8 hours of show, and then almost a full day of teardown.
How many sticks of truss? You said you had 150 fixtures.
Well, it was originally going to be 600 feet of truss, and then we scrapped that idea, and it was I don't know, about 140 feet of truss. So yeah. So we did that, and we had 8 people working with us, and yeah, good times.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's next? What's on the horizon for Mike?
I mean, as far as right now, it's school season. So
school season.
We're going back to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Just trying to figure out life and all that kind of stuff. Make all the good work happen, and then it's slow season, which I'm looking very much forward to.
Slow season for me starts in a week. I am so looking forward to having some downtime.
Yeah.
I got one more wedding
it's been like
Saturday.
2 months of straight weddings with you.
Yeah. So
that is awesome. I'm trying to figure out how to just sit in the trees for a month in November and just not do anything.
Okay. Have you had the I don't ever want to do another gig in my life after this weekend yet? Because there was one weekend I had 3 proms, and 2 big ones and 1 smaller budget one. And I set up the smaller budget one and did mine. And then after I got mine torn down, I went and tore down the other one. And it was 6 a.m, driving back, had to pull over. And I thought I had like an ulcer or something, but I threw up on the side of the road. Just horrible. Just, I can't do this anymore. And it took like a week for me to recover from that weekend. How many of those weekends have you had yet? I'm sure the last weekend was one of those.
So yeah, last weekend was a little bit of a struggle. I'll just tell you about the craziest weekend I've ever had, which was last year. Thursday we show up to Oak Harbor Naval Base. Friday we set up. Friday we do a show. Friday we tear down. This is a full stage gig with 5 people. Drive that stage that night. To Longview.
Oh, that's a long drive.
Get to Longview at like 4:35 a.m. Set up the stage again.
When did this sleep come into the equation?
Nope, set up the stage again. Mind you, the hotel that we were staying at gave us 3 different wrong rooms. And wrong rooms are the ones that have people in them already. And everybody loves seeing somebody at 5:30 a.m. walk into the room.
Oh, didn't really?
Yeah. Yeah, man. Like, I'm just, I guess it's a dangerous job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, get the stage mostly set up, and then from there, I've got my crew that's running the audio, the lights, the stage. That's fine. And then I needed to go drive back up to Woodinville to make sure that another stage was set up. For another concert that was day of, set up, tear down, all that kind of stuff. Make sure that's all good in the hood. And then drove back to my house to load my car to go do a DJ show over in Issaquah.
Wow. That's ridiculous, man.
And then drove back down to Longview the next day to go tear that thing down.
After 4 hours of sleep.
I didn't want to talk to anybody. And people, like... I see some sound guys who are like grumpy, but I'm like, dude, it's because you want to like press faders instead of like moving boxes.
Right.
But, like most of these cats, like they're not always running on zero sleep.
Yeah.
So I'm actually pretty nice. But when people call me on like Monday and they're like, hey, so you want to schedule, or like they're trying to schedule a weird meeting like at 10 a.m. or something. I'm like, don't fucking talk to me. Just fucking don't talk to me. And you have none of these people are like, this is an actual real job.
They don't. They think it's a game to you because you're playing with all your fun toys, right?
Screwing around. Yeah.
Well, of course, because they only see the 4-hour show. But like, I mean, basically through middle of June till, man, if I can get this right, till middle of October, I had 4 day weeks that I work, but there's 120 hours.
Easy, yeah.
Stupid.
But not even that. Just dealing with how hard was it to get your good crew of guys? How many people did you go through before you got like people you could rely on? Because that was the hardest thing for me. That's still always trying to
always the hardest thing, because you got guys who are like really good at life and really good at their job, and you can't maintain them full time. And even if you can maintain them full time, sometimes they're like, well, I know I'm good at my job, but like what I'd like to do is something totally different. I want to go on the road for 9 months. Like, this job is so wishy-washy.
Yeah.
I mean, you're lucky if you can hold somebody who's good at their job for 2 years.
That was the hardest thing for me was having people that would show up on time, would work hard when they were there, and be worth the pay at the end of the day. And 90% of the time you couldn't. There was multiple times, you don't really see it around here, but down in Phoenix, you can go down to like a Home Depot and you can just pick people up. There were multiple times I just picked people up, threw a shirt on them and said, hey, start hauling some truss in, because I needed just hands.
So as far as the stage job goes, every stage job, it's the same. I mean, we're calling a labor ready or something else to show up with, calling 5 or 6 guys and 3 show up. I mean, I know how the
maybe one of them knows how to wrap chords.
No,
not even that. No one knows how to wrap chords. You're the only guy that knows how to wrap chords.
I mean, like, I'm lucky if they pay attention enough to like pick up something when you ask them the third time. Legitly, 2 shows ago, asked somebody to sweep off the stage. She's like mid-40s. I hand her a push broom, and she's pulling. It took her almost an hour to sweep off. It's a 32 by 24 stage, like a third of it.
Yeah, you gotta get a Roomba.
Oh my God. I wanted to punch that lady in the face.
But instead you had to hand her a check at the end of the day, right? Doesn't that just right?
I mean, really, they're just there to move the heavy pieces of steel to make it so that I don't have to die every day. So
yeah.
I'm happy with that. It's fine. It's a thing. I'm not hiring them on any of my private event shows because no.
And then when you get that one guy that's a hard worker and has his shit together and can actually, you feel like you can put some effort into teaching this guy. Usually once they figure it out, they go and try and do it on their own, not realizing they had I
don't have so much of that. I mean, where I've kind of like cornered myself, I've found people who are like really good at audio, really good at lighting, really good at video, or they know all of that, but they're kind of running their own thing. So we hire each other out months in advance to know that you're doing a show and you're getting the money that you want. And that's kind of the understanding. So long as they're getting the money that they want, everything's cool. Actually, this large wedding was the first time that I didn't hire some of the crew, but this was the first time that I've actually had somebody call out. And that motherfucker called out 2 days.
Right before you needed him.
No, he called out He called out the day of. The day of, and then he's like, I'll be there on Sunday for loadout. And then Saturday night at 11:30, he's like, I'm not gonna be there. Like, hey guy, I'm gonna tell everybody that I know that you're not allowed anywhere.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing how your reputation follows you in that kind of field. Like it's a small group of people that do these kind of gigs.
Yeah.
There's only a certain amount of people that do it, and if you want to be a part of it, you have to do a good job.
Hey man, you gotta do a good job. Like, I mean, if we're talking about this same job, Friday guy shows up to help me, who showed up, who's done lots of other things, and Saturday night he gets news that like his grandpa's probably not going to make it very much longer, like within a couple of days, right? And so me and the other guy who hired him, he's like, man, just stay home. We were already shy a guy. Like, I mean,
we'll get by.
Dude, we'll get by. I'm just mad at that other dude for calling out. The first day, maybe. The second day on the same show?
Right.
When you said you'd be there, like, don't be a dick.
Yeah. It's pretty much what it comes down to, right? It's simple.
It's not hard. I mean,
company
that's
policy.
Probably a
just don't be
metaphor
a
for
dick.
that guy's life.
that is our company policy. It seriously is, but that's not on the shirts. It's not, no.
Clients wouldn't look too good on that.
You ask Sean, who's in the other room. What's that? Don't be a dick. He might yell at you.
Well, I think we're coming up on an hour, just shy. That's about when we cut things off. Where can people find you at? mikedupproductions.net?
.net.
And it's MIKED.
Correct.
Like your name, Mike.
Yep. Well,
Mic'd Up Productions.
look at that. Michael Duncan. Mike D. Up Productions.
There you go. And all your social links are on there.
Correct.
Anything else you want?
Mic'd Up Pro on Twitter and at Mike_up_productions on Instagram.
Oh, let's be real. I'm not on Twitter. I should just delete that.
Right?
I mean, there
Twitter
can only
is
be
my Instagram feed. Because literally anytime I post on Twitter, it's a photo from Instagram. So,
I just need to delete that. Only so many things.
Right?
Yeah.
But, Ryan, anything?
Nope, I'm cool, man. Thanks so much, Michael. Appreciate your time, man. Really thank you for coming on.
Yeah, it's a good time.
So, all right. With that, we are going to call it a show, and we will see you guys next week.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.